Sunday the 10th. Today's reading book, Our Daily Bread, Francisco Cándido Javier by Emmanuel Spirit. Spiritism, chapter 142. The fact that you are suing one another means you have already committed a wrong. Why not endure an injustice? Why not endure harm? Paul 1 Corinthians 6:7. Today's reading, contentions are not always limited to the courts of justice in the scandalous arena of public lawsuits. They appear on a greater scale in homes and institutions. There they arise from mental disorderliness and surreptitious conversation in the unseen mock of hatred that asphyxiates hearts and saps their strength. If they do not exist, however, it is because members of the family or the organization feed them with the oil of repressed animosity. Many disciples become victims of such troubles because they take refuge in erroneous regenerative principles. Usually a large number display an aggressive attitude with sword and sand in hand, dueling heatedly in the illusionary belief of setting their neighbor straight. Many disciples become victims of such troubles because they take refuge in erroneous regenerative principles. Usually a large number display an aggressive attitude with sword in hand, dueling heatedly in the illusionary belief of setting their neighbor straight. Ready to protest, to accuse, to criticize loudly, they explain that they are serving the truth. But why do they not express their faith by heroically enduring injustice and harm in the silence of a faithful soul, rather than opting for reprisal? How many homes would be happier? How many institutions would become permanent fountainheads of light if believers in the gospel would learn to keep quiet in order to speak advantageously at the proper time? We are not referring to ordinary individuals, but rather to disciples of Jesus. How much the world will profit when followers of Christ feel fortunate of being simple instruments of the good and the divine hand, forgetting the old objective of being the arbitrary directors of the work of heaven. In today's reading, Emmanuel reminds us that as believers of the gospel, we must learn how to silence before we speak, in due time with profit, demonstrating our own faith and avoiding protests, accusations, and criticism, so our home becomes sources of light, and so we can be simple instruments of good in His divine plan, forgetting the purpose of being arbitrary, the heavenly service counselors. I'm feeding a discordance in my home, or I've learned with the gospel to endure the injustice and harm heroically, in the silence of the soul of the faithful, without protest, accuse or criticize my neighbor. Today's prayer. Dear God, thank you for bringing us together here at Pesera de Menezes. We ask that you pray for all those that are sick, all those that are in nursing homes, all those that are in hospitals, in orphanages, and in prisons. We thank you for your continued light and your guidance. Over there. Today's talk is Faith Transports Mountains by our speaker, Janaina Machado. Welcome. You're so short. Okay.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
We do have it. Thank you. All right. So, our talk this morning will be about faith transport mountains. And as I was reading, reading in the car, something came to my mind, and later I'll talk about it. But we're going to try to understand what is faith, what is to have faith, and the differences between reasonable faith and the faith that somebody obligates you to have it. but you don't know why you have to have. So we're going to start with the definition of faith, and that's the dictionary says, faith is a complete trust or confidence in someone or something. It's a strong belief in God or in the doctrines of a religion based on a spiritual apprehension rather than proof. And then an example, she gave her life for her faith. So we can, with the last phrase, we can use that for many different purposes. You know, not that she killed herself for faith, but she may devoted her life for faith. Or maybe in your home, you devoted your life for faith, but your family does not share the same faith. So we can use in many different ways. So the gospel according to Spiritism says that faith is an innate sentiment in human beings of their future destiny. It is the awareness that they have of the immense faculties whose seed was deposited in them, first in a latent state, in which they now must make blossom and grow by their active will. So here we see that faith is in us. When we were created, when God created us, faith was already there. And as time goes by, and we have our many incarnations, we have the time to work on our faith. And that will only happen if we do work active to make it, bloom. Up until now, faith has not been understood except from the religion's aspect, because Christ extolled it as a powerful lever, and because he has been seen only as the head of the religion. So, Jesus came to show us the example of love, the understanding, what is to be faithful. But many people mistake faith only as a religion. And Christ, he came and he put a high standard for faith. So for us, it's so difficult to look back and see, and take Jesus as an example, because we may think, oh my gosh, I'm so behind on my evolution. How can I compare myself to Jesus? But Christ, who performed material miracles, has demonstrated through these same miracles what humans can do when they have faith. That is the will to wish and the certainty that such a will can obtain its fulfillment. So Christ made many miracles. Studying Spiritism, we learn that those were things that are possible to happen. It's not a miracle that it's a external power. You have to have the want to happen. And Jesus itself, just by looking at you, he will, make you feel better, or even if we had spirits that were grouping in the shadows, they would leave the room if they don't want to get better, just because of his moral. So Christ brought us the faith, and he showed us how to work it. Faith is either human or divine, depending on whether people apply their faculties to their earthly needs or to their heavenly and future aspirations. So we're going to talk first about the human faith. So let's say I've been studying for so long to get, to get my master's degrees, and then I want to have a promotion, and I do work for it, and I do believe in myself that I can do it. And at the end, I can do it because I have that power in me saying every single day, you can do it. You are able to do it. But we're looking more towards the human, the material work. Like when we're working for something and we want to get a job promotion and we do work for it and it happens. But the divine faith is that faith that we are looking ahead for our future, not just right now. We're looking ahead on our next incarnation. We know that this right now, it's not all that we have. We have much more. This is only a small portion of what we can accomplish. And when we go after the heavenly for the future aspirations, we grow the seed that we have in us. We make it grow. Because everything else that we have in our life right now, it's going to happen eventually. We don't have just to look for the material things. It will come. When you have faith and you believe it, you do your best. And nothing will ever, your necessities you will always have. Sometimes we may not have for the extra, to go out on a trip or, extra money to do certain things. But we will never be left alone as long as we have faith and we believe it. So human faith, individuals of genius who pursue the accomplishment of some great enterprise triumph if they have faith because they feel within them they can and must reach it. And it is certainty provides them with immense power. So when we believe it, we have that power inside of us. If we compare, like when we are angry, we do have so much power when we are angry. And if we turn to the opposite way, to the positive, I have faith in me. I have faith that I have lots of imperfections, but I can work on myself every single day to get better. I can ask God to give me the strength so I can overcome certain habits, bad habits. Over time, it will happen, but we have to believe it. We have to want that to happen. Looking by the moral side, moral persons who believe in their heavenly future and who want to fill their lives with noble and beautiful actions in the certainty of happiness that awaits them, draw from their faith the strength they need, thereby accomplishing the miracles of charity, devotion, and selflessness. Finally, with faith, there is no evil tendencies that cannot be overcome. So no matter what is our imperfection, when we have faith, there is one single thing that cannot overcome. But it has to come from us. We have to want to make it better, to make it work. I would like to say a little story. It's from the book called Our Father from Francisco Cândido Xavier from the Spirit Mei. It is about 3 young guys, and they're praying to Jesus, and they're asking, please, Lord, come and talk to us. We would like to talk to you. And so then Jesus comes to their presence. And then Jesus asks, what do you want from me? So the first person says, I would love to be rich. I want to be rich. So Jesus gives him what he wants. Gives him money. Now he's rich. The second person asks for to be beautiful, to have the beauty, and he's granted that. The third person says, Jesus asks, and what do you want? And then the third person says, I don't know. I would like you to give me what I deserve. I don't want to ask. I want you to give me what I deserve. So Jesus was happy, and he told his angels to bring a big backpack. Well, I guess I don't know how they had at the time, but maybe a big bag. And then it was heavy, so he was happy. He thought, oh my gosh, I have many things in here. And then when he opens, it's a huge stone. And then the two other guys starts laughing at him, saying, oh, is that what all you got? We have money. I'll be beautiful forever. And you got this? And then Jesus leaves with his, helpers. But the third guy had faith. He knew if Jesus gave him that, it is because he deserved it. So he started every single day trying to break the stone. Because he said, if Jesus gave me, there is something in there. And then, after some time, he's able to get a beautiful and big diamond. And with that, he was able to get everything that the other two got. But he used for helping other people. He opened like a hospital or a place where he would help mothers and orphans and all kinds of people that were in need. And he was happy. He had the money. He was helping people. And he had the faith. He believed in what Jesus gave to him. So after some time, after many years went by, he sees two people coming in the door, and he recognizes them. And it's the two guys, the two friends. And they hug each other, and the two guys are, crying, and they say, we're desperate, I lost all my money, I don't have help. And so he opens the door and, and helps them. So the moral of the story is, what we are looking for, not always it is what we need at the moment. The third person had the patience to every single day get his little knife and start breaking the stone. It was a big stone, it was not a little one. But the other two, they wanted to take the large door. They wanted the beauty, the money right away. So sometimes when we use our faith, we have to be careful what we're wishing for. Like the American says, be careful what you wish for because you may get what you want. So if we have patience, Spiritism brings us all the tools for us to work in ourselves every single day. We are that stone. Every single day we work a little bit. And at the end, we're going to be a shiny diamond. Because when God created us, He created us for only one purpose, to be perfect. We cannot be perfect like God, otherwise we would be God. But we'll be pretty close to all the other spirits, and the higher level spirits. I don't even know what is the correct definition. But it is important to know that no matter what is our vices, what is our bad habits, with patience we can overcome every single one. And faith is taking the first step even when you don't know, even when you don't see the whole staircase. And that's us. We start this life and we have no idea what's ahead of us. But we take the first step. And we cannot give up on the middle, because then you look down, you have gone all those stairs, the steps, and then you look up, you still have a lot. But you're already, going up. So I guess I said this started before I got to this slide. So the power of the faith. This is very interesting. Jesus is coming to the. I'll read from here because I don't have the book here. And when they were come to the multitude, there came to him a certain man, kneeling down to Jesus, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he is lunatic and sore. For times he fell into fire, and other times into water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they could not cure him. Then Jesus answered and said, faithless and perverse generation, how long shall I be with you? How long shall I suffer you? Bring him higher to me. And Jesus repelled the evil. So this little boy had, he had bad spirits with him. And then the father asks Jesus, why were you able to do it and your disciples, they were not? Because you go together, you teach them. And it's simple, because you have to believe it. Jesus already told us, you can do everything I do and much more. So when we are in certain circumstances in our lives, and we think, I can't do it. It may be a disease, it may be a loss of a job, or you may lose somebody you love. You have to have the faith that you can overcome, that you can do it. If God is giving you, or if it's giving me that trial at that moment, it is because I can handle it. And when the time comes, He who's always by my side, but God and Jesus, they never left us. Sometimes we think, where are you? We ask when we're desperate. We ask, where are you? Where were you when this happened or that happened? Imagine if we didn't have faith, if we never prayed. Probably we would have much more problems in our lives. So being faithful and believing it, we make our life better. And our trials become easier because we have the faith in the future. It is certain that confidence in our own abilities renders us capable of accomplishing physical things that we would not be able to do if we doubted ourselves. So we cannot doubt ourselves. We may be a little shaken, like, will I be able to do it? Yes, you are. And if we fail, it's okay. Right? All of us, we all fail. But that does not mean that I'm going to give up. I may fail 1,000 times for the same thing. Thomas Edison, when he invented the light, if he had given up before, probably somebody else would invent it. But it took him over 1,000 times to get the light we have today. But if he gave up on the 999, he would never know what he was going to do. And he is a big, history for us. And so, however, here it is only in the moral sense. So we're looking at this parable, about how at the end Jesus says that if you have faith, you can tell this mountain to move from here to there, and it will move. So we're going to look to that more towards the moral sense, that these words should be understood. The mountains that the faith moves are our difficulties, the resistance, and the ill will. Our everyday prejudices, material interests, selfishness, the blindness of fanaticism, and prideful passions are other such mountains that bar the way to all who are working for humankind progress. So if we just focus in ourselves, being okay, I'm the most important person in the whole earth, we're gonna make the humankind progress slower because we're not moving with everybody. So that's why we have to live in society. That's why we have to live with our families. Our families are the first school that we have. The ones we have to work hard. Not always we have only people that we get along with. You may have a brother that you go like, oh my gosh, why did God give me this brother? But at the end, we have by our side who we need. Because I'll be able to probably, with my little knife, help him shine a little more, and he will do the same for myself. But as long we want to make it work. But if we just decide, I don't want to do anything like him, then we're losing an opportunity. And God gives us our family as an opportunity for us to evolve together. We're not walking by ourselves. We have to walk together. And then as time goes by, we move on. We get married, we have kids, and then we have our family from the Spiritist Center, and probably we still have kind of the same problems. Not as much, but still we are all different. But we are all helping each other. And we deserve to help each other. So I found something very interesting from the Spiritist magazine from July of 1869. So Allan Kardec was already passed at this time, but he had written before. And I thought it was very interesting the way he wrote it down, this text, or this story. He said, imagine you coming all by yourself into the woods. And then you look to the woods and you just see the tall trees and you can't see anything else. So you go in, and then at the beginning you start walking, and then you start hurting yourself because you have no idea what you're going to encounter. And it's dark, it's cold, and you're by yourself, you're hungry, you're thirsty, but you have to make it. So after some time, you're tired, you're all hurt. But then you start to see light. And then you're happy because, then you start to see some light coming. It's not so dark anymore. So this first part means one of our incarnations. When we are here, the beginning is hard. And then as we move on, we start learning things. That's the whole purpose of incarnation. It is not to make the same mistakes we did yesterday, today. So he comes and he gets to the light and he sees, for a small period of time, he passes through the woods and he sees a beautiful garden. But he has to keep moving because others are coming. And then when he gets to the woods again, it's dark. But now he has experience. So he knows that, he can cut certain woods to help him move. So he doesn't cut himself as much. He can find water and food. And then again, after some time, he sees the light again. And then he's happy again. Oh my gosh, I will see the beautiful garden, and. And then he continues to go, and he finds an old man that tells him, gives him some advice. Instead of doing this, do this way. And he follows the advices. And then things are even easier. So now he sees much more light than he saw before. And then at the end of his journey, he gets to the top of a mountain. And when he's there, he sees all this beauty. He sees the beautiful ocean. He sees all the valley that he came. He sees the trees, the places where the garden was. And he has a sentiment that he's happy. He doesn't have that frustration in him anymore. So then he talks to God and says, what was that? And then God says, that was your incarnations. Every single time you were there, you had to overcome certain things. And at the end, if you learn, you walk faster. If you keep doing the same mistakes, you're going to keep hurting yourself. You're going to keep yourself thirsty. You're going to keep yourself hungry because you're being stubborn. I'm using most of my own words, because it's a big thing. And then he also says that when he met this old man, the old man told him, just be careful because there is a cliff. And if you go down, you never come back. So he was very afraid. And then God tells him, there is no such thing. When you go down the cliff, you never come back. And then he said, well, but he told me. So then he said, okay, let's look at another thing. When you have to overcome something and you can't, that's when you fall on the cliff. But you're not going to be there forever. But you have to work on yourself to get out of there. And now that you're here on the top of the mountain, that means that you already did all you had to do. So now you can go down again, and you will be the one that helps the others. So there is no faith without helping others. There is no faith without charity. If we have faith but we don't do anything to help our neighbor, or for instance, let's focus on our home. If we can help our own loved ones, the faith is inactive. Because we need to work, we need to do charity. And when I mean charity, it's not giving money to somebody. It's the charity of maybe just sitting next to somebody and talking, offering a cup of tea. Simple things that will touch the person's heart, and they will go like, wow, I never thought that, my cousin could be so nice to me. Because I've been, kind of not so good to him. But we do our part. So he went down and he started helping all the other people. And he told them, if you follow the advices, you will get to your final destination sooner. But he didn't tell them what the final destination was. Because we have to help ourselves. We may ask for help. God will give us the strength. He will lead us the way. But he's not going to do it for us. We have to do our part. It's a 50-50 deal. I do my part. God does his part. So now we get into the religious faith. And this is where I got very interested. Because I've read this in Portuguese many times. But I'll tell you, in English, for some reason, it was much more easy for me to understand. I think in English, everything is simpler than Portuguese. From the religious point of view, faith consists of the belief in the special dogmas which constitute the various religions. All of them have their articles of faith. So, if we look around us, all the other churches or all the other religions, they all have their rules and their beliefs. But something that faith cannot be prescribed or it cannot be imposed. And then they repeat on the gospel, no, it cannot be prescribed, but only acquired. But how do we get, to faith? How can we acquire faith? So faith needs a base, one that gives complete understanding of what we are asked to accept. So when I came into the Spiritism, everything was new for me. But I was so amazed. I read one book and I was like, oh my gosh, my mind is open. I see things in a different way. So even though it was a romance, the first one I read, but it got me to the door. So we cannot underestimate, certain readings, because sometimes that's all you need. It's a little help, a little push, so you can get to the door, and then that faith that's in there when we were created, it's gonna bloom. In order to believe, it is not enough to see. Above all else, it is necessary to understand. Rationalized faith, when based on facts and logic, leaves no doubt. So when we understand, we have no doubt. But if we're being imposed something and we do not understand, then it's going to happen what we see a lot. People that have no beliefs, because if you're forcing them to believe in something, and they say, no, I don't want that. Then the person believes because they are certain. And no one can certain unless they understand. So that's the beauty of studying Spiritism. Because at the beginning, you may get a simple book, and then you go like the first time I tried to read What is Spiritism, I could not read that book. When I got to the turning tables, I was like, what is that? So I stopped because my mind at the time was not open. I needed to learn other things first, and then when I went back, I saw, oh, now it makes sense. So it makes sense. Why? Because I had the base, because I understood why that was happening. This is why they are unshakable, because unshakable faith is that which can stand face to face with reason in all epochs of humanity. And Allan Kardec, he made sure that we understood this last phrase. If even we had some other higher spirits, they said, if I tell you something that does not go according to what is in the doctrine, the Spiritist books, the base, leave me and follow them, because Kardec is the one that made all the work. If I tell you something else that does not go together, you follow Kardec. So Kardec is our base. We have to know all the books. We have to, maybe we don't have the time to study, but when we do our gospel at home, we can take time, and use every week, maybe, read a little bit of the Spirit's book. And when we go on, we may get to the other books. So now, before I finish, I have another thing that I want to read, because I thought was very interesting the way they put about faith, with the unshakable and the faith that is imposed. So the gospel says, in some people, faith appears to be inborn, a spark being enough to cause it to unfold. So like I said, maybe you just need a little push because it's in there and it's going to bloom. This is of assimilation. This is of assimilation of a spiritual truth. It is an evident sign of previous progress. And that's what I thought was interesting. Because of course I know that we are better, much better today than we were before. But I never thought about believing in something, being something that we are already, being, we have that. I know we have it. But I thought it was interesting the way they put together. On the contrary, in the others, there is difficulty of assimilation, which is a no less evident sign of their backward natures. The first already believe and understand, having brought with them one being reborn, the intuition of what they knew. The resistance of the unbeliever, we must agree, is almost always due less to himself than to the manner in which things have been put into him. And then they go on saying that most of the times it's not because of the belief, but because of the pride. They don't want to believe in something that they cannot, fully understand. And when we talk about faith, there is one last story that I would like to tell. It's about Joana de Cusa. Have anyone heard about? No? Okay. So Joana de Cusa, it's when Jesus was, still living, she one time was able to talk to Jesus, and she said how, she was married to a Cusa, which is somebody that was working for, what is his name? Eros. No, not Eros. Herodes. So he was working, with them, and he had, money. They had lots of people working for them. But after she heard Jesus, something else happened, and she started following him, but her husband didn't have the same belief. So after some time, Jesus was dead, and she could still remember the talk that they had. And Jesus told her, if your husband does not believe in what you believe, you do. So go home today and love him for what he is. Do not praise his imperfections, but praise what he has good to offer. And that's what she did. She went home and, tried not to see the things she did not agree. She had a son, and after, back on 68, her husband was already dead, and the Christians were being still prosecuted. They would put on the torch, and put fire. So she devoted her life for charity. And after her husband died, she had to do all the work. She had to start working. Before, she had the servants that did everything for her. But she had to go after for her and for her son. And many years later, they are at a park, at a place, and they're going to be torched. And then she looks to her side, and she hears somebody, calling her name, and she sees it's her son. And then her son says, "Mother, please, deny your faith, deny Jesus. So you can be, so we both can, go on with our lives. Otherwise, they're going to kill us." And then at that moment, you have all those flashbacks coming. And one thing that Jesus told her when she had that conversation was, "Go on and be faithful." So when she was there, the only thing that came to her mind was that. And she thought, Jesus worked. He brought us all his teachings. And I will do the same. And then they start, lighting fire. And then one of the persons come to her and tell her, did your master teach you how to die? And then she said, not only how to die, but how to love you. So, even in the toughest time of our lives, when we have faith, we will overcome. In that case, they died. And then, as the fire starts going up, she feels a hand on her arms, on her shoulder. And that's Jesus. And he said, you come with me because you were faithful. I'm sorry.
No, don't worry. Don't worry. No, it's beautiful.
And this is beautiful for me because we have things that go on in our lives. And we may not be harsh, but it's the same. You know what I mean? The trouble may be so big that it feels just like it. But if we stop and we think, no, Jesus is with me. Oh, thank you. I'm glad I don't have any makeup on today. So when Jesus brought us all his teachings, he wanted to teach us the love. And that last phrase, when she tells, her prosecutor, he not only taught me how to die, but how to love you. That alone explains faith. And if today we go home knowing the difference between the faith, the one that we're obligated, that it's not faith. Because if somebody tells you, you have to understand this way, but your mind says, no, my mind goes that way. So the unshakable faith is the one that we understand, that we have to face. The Spiritism is great, but all other religions are too. Because we all, at certain point in our lives, were there too. And I'm sure that they help us to walk. And when we are all at the top of the mountain, and we'll look down and we see all the troubles we went through, and with faith we did it, that's, it's going to be such a nice feeling. And with that, I'm sorry. I usually don't cry for this. Dear Father, at this moment, we're all here in your presence, incarnated and discarnated spirits. And we all would like to thank you for the opportunity of this life and all the other existence we have had, and for the ones we are going to have. I personally want to thank you for our Spiritist doctrine that opens our mind, our hearts, and leads the way to you. I would like to ask for every single person in here that we all can be healthy, that we can overcome our own imperfections, our own vices, and that we can go home and love our families, and be kind to the ones that are not so kind to us. Jesus, Thank you. Thank you so much, spirits, mentors of this Spiritist house. We would like to ask for permission to finish our study this morning. So,